Chapter 19. Grayson felt a crick growing in his neck as he spread the dirt around the last hedge. Finally, he was done with the maze and could move on to a different section of the garden. He straightened, stretching his arms and back. Damn, it felt good. As he picked up his tools, he surveyed the creation that took weeks of back-breaking labor. Right now, it looked like a pretty design on the lawn, but in a few years, when the hedges grew tall, it had become a place a person could lose themselves in, however briefly that might be. He had designed it for Nadia, but it was Jenna who he wanted to chase through it, losing himself with her. Crazy how she'd shifted from adversary to someone who was scarily close to stealing his heart. Jenna could claim it if she wanted to, simply by being so near and looking up at him with those soft, brandy eyes that narrowed when he exasperated her. He enjoyed that. She could steal it, but he wouldn't ever allow the bad luck that dogged him and made Nadia's life hell shift to Jenna. It was bad enough that her brother put her in such a predicament. Grayson would make sure she stayed safe, even if that meant keeping his distance. He had already given up any plans to conquer his little sergeant. He looked over to find Jenna in the same spot he'd left her, mumbling to herself as she had the entire afternoon. "What are you working on?" he called. "I can hear you grumbling from over here."
"What?"
she asked, not paying attention. Grayson wandered over and sat near her, his back resting against the tree trunk. "I said, what are you working on? You've been talking to yourself the last couple of hours."
"Have I? I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that,"
she said, never taking her eyes off her laptop. Grayson reached over and plucked it off her lap.
"Hey, give it back."
"Not until I figure out what has you so absorbed that you can't even pay attention to your boss." Jenna rolled her eyes.
"Just give it back. The battery is about to die, and I need to save my work."
"What's this for?" Grayson looked at the black screen with a neon green scroll bar running across.
"I'm playing around with web designs, but I think I'll hire someone."
"You probably should. The way this thing is turning out, it'd be worse than Frankie's." Jenna huffed and snatched the laptop.
"I have better taste than that, which is why I'm calling a web designer first thing tomorrow."
"Good idea." Jenna absent-mindedly swatted his arm as she saved her work and powered down the computer. It felt more like a tap and amused him since she probably didn't even know she did it. She was becoming comfortable with him.
"How long do you think it'll take to get a website up and running? I've never had to do this before. I want it up tomorrow."
"Why tomorrow?"
"So, I can start marketing."
"If you want it tomorrow, you're going to have to give the designers a big incentive."
"Like money."
"They'd take other forms of bribes too, but let's stick with money for now." Jenna's confusion made Grayson grin. At her indignant huff when she realized what he had implied, she reached over and pinched his arm. "You have a tendency to become physical when you're mad," Grayson said.
"Sorry."
She said, not sounding at all sorry.
"Bad habits of a smaller sibling."
"Did you assault your previous bosses?"
"No, just you get that honor."
"You know it doesn't hurt, right?"
"I never mean for it to hurt. And if you smile at me in that dopey way again, I'll do worse."
"Yeah? Like what?" Jenna looked at him, her eyes lingering around his beard.
"I'll shave that thing off while you're sleeping."
"Perhaps I'll shave it off tonight before you can exact your revenge." She smiled.
"I'd win either way because then I won't have to see it anymore."
She reached over to playfully tug it, bringing his face closer to her. "Are you sure you want to win this round?" Grayson teased. All he had to do was move forward a scant inch or two, and their lips would touch, but he wouldn't. Jenna immediately let go of his beard and floundered in the pillows, trying to stand.
"Dinner."
"What?"
"I'll go make dinner."
she said, crawling from the pillows. She stood and gathered her laptop. "I thought we could go out to dinner." Jenna hugged the laptop.
"There's no need."
There was a need for Grayson. If he had to see her bounce around the kitchen in her tiny outfits again, he'd lose it. A restaurant with a table between them would be much safer. "Be ready to go in 30 minutes. Grayson said, brushing past Jenna as he headed inside.
But there's...
Who's the boss? Grayson tossed back. A smile twitched on his lips when he heard her indignant huff.
Jenna marched into Grayson's bedroom. She had given him a few minutes' head start to jump into the shower as she stewed downstairs. Must he be so provoking? She knew he did it on purpose. Well, now he did it on purpose. She could hear the water running as she raced into the closet where some of her new clothes were hanging. The rest were still in a pile. Her fingers drifted over the selections, thinking the hanger would provide more cover than these tiny things. Well, if he could be provoking in his I'm the boss way, she could be provoking in her own way. Not that this would be her normal provoking way, but she didn't have much of a choice anyway. And Grayson deserved it. She slipped a slinky black number off a hanger and closed the closet door in case Grayson chose that moment to come out of the bathroom. It was bad enough having so much exposed skin. She didn't want him to see her unmentionables too, which were rather uncomfortable. Maya must have bought every lacy, bum-showing contraption the boutique had. Jenna stripped off her clothes, discarding them in a corner. She'd have to remember to buy a hamper. Grayson had one, but she didn't feel comfortable mingling their clothes. And where was the laundry room? She had yet to discover it. It made her wonder what other rooms and discoveries she had yet to find. Jenna struggled with her dress. It hugged a little too tightly. She pulled at the hem, tugging it down. The full-length mirror showed it didn't look overly tight, but it felt like a bear hug. It'd have to do, she thought as the sound of running water stopped. Grayson would be ready in a few minutes. Shoes? Jenna hurried from the closet and over to the stacked shoeboxes, dragging her fingers through her hair to comb it as best as she could. She kneeled in front of the boxes, trying to read the labels. She didn't want to open every box if she didn't have to. Scanning the labels, she found one on the bottom that looked promising. Jenna bent over to get a better look.
Jesus.
Grayson breathed. Jenna popped up, peeking behind her to find Grayson near the bathroom door. "Oh, I didn't hear you," Jenna said, attempting to stand. Every time she moved one way, her dress shimmied the other. Grayson watched in fascinated horror. "Can you turn around? I seem to be having issues." Grayson quickly turned. A little too quickly. The least he could do is be a normal man and leer for a few seconds. Jenna stood and rearranged her dress. It wasn't too far out of place, but it was a little too close to exposing her lacy frills. "You can turn around now," Jenna said. "I'm decent." Grayson slowly turned as if he was afraid, and by the way he let out a gusting breath, he must have been holding it for some time.
I'll be ready to go in a minute,
Grayson said, moving to his closet to blindly grab a pair of shoes.
but take your time. I'll meet you by the front door.
He hurried out the door with bare feet and shoes in his hand. In his rush to flee, he forgot his socks, Jenna mused. She wandered over to his dresser and pulled out a pair that would match his steel gray dress shirt that he wore with jeans. She then dug out a pair of her shoes that she had spied earlier and slipped on the silvery high-heeled sandals. Before she left, she took a good long look at herself in the mirror and was happy to find she looked more put together than she felt. Jenna switched off the lights and made her way down to Grayson, who was exactly where he said he'd be. He paced in front of the door in his shoes and no socks. "Missing something?" she asked. Grayson looked over at the socks in her hands, then down at his feet.
I guess I am.
He took the socks and quickly put them on.
My mind must be somewhere else. You look beautiful, by the way,
he said, right before he ran out the door. Jenna followed him to the garage, wondering why he was acting so strangely. Had her dress hitched funny when she bent over, exposing her barely covered derriere? That'd be embarrassing. She vowed not to ask. She didn't want to know. They drove in silence to the restaurant. A valet dressed in a formal tux opened Jenna's door, his eyes traveling merrily along her length as he held out his hand. She didn't bother taking his hand. She could get out of the car by herself if her dress would stay down long enough. Grayson tossed the valet the keys, which he barely caught, distracted as he was. At least the valet didn't run away from her, although now he could go away. Jenna stood and brushed past him, hurrying over to Grayson. Another formally dressed employee opened the restaurant door for them. Judging by the twinkling topiaries and mile-high wine rack, it was going to be a menu she couldn't afford. Heck, at this point she couldn't afford the local taco stand. Grayson averted his eyes every time she looked over at him. It wasn't until they were being led to their table that he placed his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through as if there could be a potential catastrophe along the way. When he pulled out the chair for her to sit, she nearly laughed out of astonishment. He proceeded to take the seat across from her and snapped up the leather-bound menu, shielding himself. "Grayson," Jenna said softly.
Hmm?
The menu was still in place. "Grayson," she said again. The menu lowered so his eyes peered over.
Yes?
"I can't afford anything here."
How do you know? The prices aren't listed.
"Exactly. It means the prices are so high I can't afford it,"
I'm buying.
he said, retreating again. "You can't."
I can.
"Then I'll leave." The menu snapped shut.
I asked you to dinner, so I'm buying.
"Technically, you didn't ask."
Fine. Then think of this as a business dinner.
"I guess that'd be acceptable," she said thoughtfully. "What would you like to talk about? I can give you an overview of what I've done so far."
That won't be necessary.
"Then what would you care to discuss? Perhaps my ideas for staffing?"
No.
A stout server stopped at their table with a bottle of wine.
Would you care for a taste of this lovely red? It will go well with any meat or mushroom dish.
Yes.
Grayson said, not bothering to look at the wine.
And leave the bottle on the table.
The man smiled and poured 2 glasses, setting the bottle on the table.
I'll be back in a moment to take your order unless you've already decided.
"Do you have just a side salad?" Jenna asked. Before the server could answer, Grayson rattled off French-sounding words. The server nodded and took the menus before bustling away. "What just happened?" Jenna asked.
I ordered.
"What if I don't like what you ordered?"
Then you can order something else.
"What did you order?" Grayson's fingers curled around his wine glass. He brought it to his lips with a sigh. After a long, steady sip, he set the glass back down.
Tell me about Adam.
He said, changing the subject. "He's a couple of years younger than I am, but much taller," Jenna said.
Almost everyone is.
Jenna glared. "What's going on? You were in a good mood before, and now you're acting like a bear." Grayson's fingers played with the wine glass.
I'm sorry. You're right.
"Did I do something?"
You always do something.
"Grayson!"
Did you just kick me?
"Gee, something must have happened."
It still didn't hurt.
Jenna crossed her arms.
I'm sorry.
Grayson said, laughter in his voice.
I was a bit out of sorts.
"A bit?"
A lot. Tell me about Adam. What was he interested in? Sports?
Jenna uncrossed her arms. "Music. He played guitar and sang."
Was he in a band?
Jenna shook her head. "He had tried, but I think he preferred being a solo artist. He was really good."
How good?
Jenna smiled. "You can't ask me that. I'm biased."
I'm not. I can tell you that my brothers are horrible. They can't carry a tune to save their lives.
"And you?" Grayson grinned.
Perfectly wretched.
Jenna laughed. "And very honest." He shrugged.
No one is good at everything.
"True. I'm, as you say, perfectly wretched as well. My brother, however, could carry a tune. I was just listening to one of his songs earlier."
You were? How?
"He has music on his website. I checked to see if his page was still up." Grayson's brow wrinkled.
How long has he been missing?
"A little over a year. I thought for sure the page would have been taken down by now. I'm so glad it wasn't." Hearing his voice again felt good.
What's the web address?
NewmanMusic.com. Grayson took out his phone and typed in the address. "What are you looking for?"
I'm wondering who the service provider is.
"I don't know, but I keep thinking about what Frankie had said."
What did he say?
Grayson asked, scrolling the screen with his finger. That normally you have to renew your domain every year. How can Adam's website still be active if that's the case? The police have been monitoring his credit cards. He hasn't used them.
Someone could have paid on his behalf.
Wouldn't the police have noticed?
Not if they're only tracking his credit cards.
Grayson brought the phone to his ear.
Hey, David, can you find out who's paying for NewmanMusic.com?
Jenna shifted in her seat. Both fear and giddiness were swirling inside. Someone had to know something. If David could give them a name, she could at least begin searching. It was a lead, and she'd take whatever lead she was given. When Grayson ended the call, she wanted to hop over the table to hug him. She was so thankful to have him on her side, no matter how baffling he could be at times.
David will call back.
Grayson said, stowing the phone in his pocket.
Do you know of anyone that would have paid for his website?
I would.
Besides you.
The only person I can think of is his old girlfriend, but she told the police they had broken up months before his disappearance.
Do you think she's lying?
I didn't at the time, now I'm not so sure. The server swept in and slid a plate in front of her first, and then Grayson. He topped off the wine glasses and asked if there was anything else he could do. Grayson's airy wave effectively sent the server away. Jenna casually inspected her plate, which contained fancily arranged steak, veggies, and potato medallions. The savory scent made her mouth water, and the mushroom cream that was drizzled on top made her want to forgo the niceties of table manners. But she wouldn't. Jenna draped the napkin over her lap, looking over to find Grayson had ordered the same thing. She took a bite and tried to concentrate on the delicious flavor that was mingling on her tongue, but her mind drifted to Adam.
Is there something wrong with the food?
Jenna quickly smoothed her pinched brow and shook her head. No, it's really good. Thank you.
Then why did you look like you smelled a dead skunk?
I did not look anything of the sort. I just thought about Adam again. We were just talking about him, and I can't seem to shake the feeling.
What feeling?
That he's close and needs help.
We already know he needs help. Just enjoy your food. I'm sure by the time we're eating dessert, David will have information.
Grayson was right. She'd enjoy the moment while David investigated. It wasn't every night that she was treated to an expensive meal in a fancy restaurant. Dessert? Jenna repeated, trying to keep the enthusiasm out of her voice. I have more than plenty right here.
I think you might change your mind.
Why?
This restaurant is known for its gelato. It's made fresh every day. The sea salt caramel receives rave reviews.
Jenna closed her mouth to keep from drooling. You might be able to twist my arm,
It's not hard to do when I know your weakness.
he said with a grin. Jenna suspected that Grayson didn't know he was becoming her weakness too, and it was going to stay that way. Heaven help her if he knew that little tidbit.